Have you ever been playing through a game and all of a sudden you just feel attached to a side character for some reason? Like, for some reason, this little goblin or NPC with 3 lines of dialogue is your favorite thing without warning? Or maybe there is just some enemy you can't help but dote on as they try to mangle you. In Armored Core, there are so many things that people love, from cute little names that the fans give to the enemies, to people who absolutely adore the fights that certain pilots give. In today's list, we're going to go over the more obscure, but still very loved ACs. No Nineballs, White Glints, or Rusties here. So join me as I try to narrow down the list to a top 10 of underrepresented fan favorite Ravens of the Armored Core franchise. Alright, let's set some ground rules. First, the pilot cannot be in any final boss missions, be on any game covers, or be in any opening cinematics, or be rank 1 in any of the arenas. We aren't looking for power here. That doesn't mean that they can't be strong, but people already know who the rank 1 ACs are. We see Nineball and Genobi and Ace and Ares all the time. Let's give a little bit of a spotlight to some of the lesser known pilots. Second, they can't have a significant impact on the story. They can be in the story, but they can't be a main driving factor behind them. Sorry, Sumika. With that out of the way, let's get into the list, starting with our honorable mentions. Gun 1 Michigan. Starting off our list of honorable mentions is our gruff and tough, lovable red gun, Gun 1 Michigan. Hell on 4 Legs is a bit too entwined in the story for this list, and pretty much everybody knows him who's played Armored Core 6, including me. I love this guy, so it sucks that he's too famous for the lesser known list and not iconic enough for the iconic list. I'm sorry, Michigan. I really do love you lots. Lumberjack. So, Lumberjack is one of those ACs that stonewalled many a young Raven back in the Armored Core Another Age days. His missile onslaughts and lack of cover really made you get put through your paces on missile avoidance in 2nd gen. To top that off, his absolute jerk of a friend comes in and tries to mop up what's left, and that had an impact on a lot of players. Noblesse oblige. One of the most proud and proper pilots in the series, Noblesse Oblige looks exceptionally unique with his twin wing laser cannons, and also shows up in both Armored Core 4 and Armored Core Francer, putting up a good fight claiming we have no honor while attacking Arteria Carpals. He looks slick and people love him for it. Nocturne. This guy shows up during one of the more grueling and long missions in the Armored Core franchise, drops an absolutely banger line, and is never heard from again. But you better believe that people still quote him on the regular. We're both Ravens, just do what comes naturally. Danger. Piloting his bright yellow AC resembling a warning sign, Danger, piloting Wasp, is the last of our honorable mentions. This guy holds a special place for a lot of people by being the first ever arena opponent you fight in the series. I've seen real life cosplay of this guy, and of course, rocking the Gen 1 starter AC sans the missile launcher, this dude's just like us, and people love him. So we'll give him the last of the honorable mentions today. Number 11. Okay, I couldn't resist, so here's an 11th spot on this top 10 list. For this one, I'm going to give it to our boy, the man, the myth, the legend, number 1111. More of a glorified honorable mention. Count 1 is absolutely loved by the fan base just because of how ridiculous the concept of this pilot is. Number 1111 pilots Count 1, which of course has a pair of legs that look like 1s, a pair of arms that look like 11s, and shoot lasers that also look like 11s, and his back-mounted large rocket launchers look like a big old bent 1. And no, they aren't 7s, they're 1s. I see this guy pop up all the time in forums over the years, and frankly, I get it. He's so lovable. The man loves 1s so much he decided to climb the rank of one of the most dangerous professions to get the 11th spot. He doesn't want number 1, that has half as many 1s. Does his emblem have 111 ones? I don't know, and I don't care to check. I'm kind of getting sick of the number 1 at the moment, so I'll wrap this up. Count 1 gets his rightful spot as a fan favorite, rocking our inaugural, and probably last, 11th spot. Okay, now on to the real top 10. Alright, let's kick off our list with our number 10 entry, and this one may be a sleeper hit to start on, but I think it might be the fact that I see more discussion about him in Japanese circles, more so than I see it on English ones. But for number 10, we'll be talking about Shade and his AC silhouette from Armored Core Silent Line. I don't get to talk too much about Armored Core Silent Line, and I don't really know why. I freaking love Silent Line. I think the story and just the whole concept of the Silent Line was super intriguing. Not to mention the missions where you get to visit places like the Ruin of the Controller was a total Leo moment when I popped this game into my PS2. Getting back to Shade though, Shade is a top-ranked AC, holding the A3 rank of the arena, and he runs a super aggressive AC equipped with dual shotguns, rockets, and stealth missiles. Being so high up on the arena rankings, Shade was one of the harder hitting opponents that is capable of absolutely mangling you if you get lazy with your movements. Personally, I think Silent Line has the most difficult arena in the entire series. Yes, even including Last Raven, short of that demon fight. And Shade lives up to the hype. Shade also shows up to assist you in the second half of the game with the mission Disable Satellite Cannon, where he can actually die and be removed from the arena list, much like a lot of the older pilots in the games. Shade is a true bro that distracts the enemy AIAC, while you can choose to go destroy the generators and complete the mission. But, of course, we're good wingmen and keep our boy Shade alive, so we can bring him back home and beat him in the arena. On top of this, Shade is a gentleman in the DMs by being gracious in defeat and showing excitement to fight us later while we're climbing through the arena. Shade does have a quirk that a lot of pilots picked up on once 4th gen came around, and that's his rather unique looking AC emblem. Does this remind you of any other notable AC emblems in the franchise? Now, I'm sure if this is just because of the emblem or people really like him, but on a few occasions I've seen absolutely gorgeous custom kits of Shade's AC. Silhouette show up at things like Wonder Festival. That's a convention in Japan that focuses on custom figurines, as well as discussions about him on Japanese Twitter and forums. Is this all because of his AC or his emblem or just his personality? I'm not sure, but seriously, have a look at these kits. They're beautiful. And Shade is certainly a more obscure AC, but I think his reputation lets him take a spot on this list at number 10. So, for my number 9 entry, I'm going to label it as my cheat pick. I don't really want to pick a single one of these guys, and I'm going to combo all of these dudes together with the title of the Arena Menaces. You know them, you maybe hate them. Exile, Nameless, and Matthias. Now, I know I'm kind of bending my rules here by making this a triple entry, but I just want to touch on the fact that these guys are terrifying for many Ravens who encounter them for the first time. And it is of course a repeating trope in the series. In Generation 2, majority of the time the arena opponents really weren't that difficult. I know there were some really fun fights like Timekeeper or Supersonic, but Matthias really shook this generation up. I think a lot of people started to get smoked on a specific fight partway through the arena, and that guy I'll be talking about later, but Matthias, aka Funeral Mask, was an absolute menace. Rocking a Kurosawa Mark II, 2 super heavy back cannons, and a Moonlight laser blade, Matthias is a difficult masterclass AC that will dismantle you in a hurry if you aren't proficient at heavy round avoidance. On the flip side of this, Armored Core 3 implemented Exile and his AC Painkiller, an ultra-fast, stealthy, get on top of you and murder you AC that will either absolutely drown you in bullets from his MWG MG-1000 or rend you into ribbons with his blade wave firing Moonlight laser blade. Exile also comes with a little extra spicy kick by including the exceptionally powerful Crow stealth extension parts that allow him to effortlessly close the distance and crack you open without much trouble, adding to his legendary status. Nameless is another machine gun monster biped who loves to zip around the arena and pelt you in the blind spot with large amounts of automatic fire. He really tests your targeting abilities. I almost wanted to include Demon from Last Raven on here as well because of just how much the jump in difficulty was between him and the number 2 spot in the VR arena, but I don't want to break my rules and open up that can of worms, or else the comments will be flooded with, "Where's Ace? Where's Ares?" before the day is done. Getting back to Matthias, Nameless, and Exile, all of these pilots continued the tradition of slotting in a super hard opponent at the bottom rank of the arena after clearing the rank 1 pilot. That was set up in Master of Arena, and many players have plenty of memories of getting absolutely hunted by either of these terrors in the arena. I know that I personally spent hours as a young fledgling Raven practicing my movements so that I could finally beat Exile legitimately, and felt an overwhelming sense of pride when I finally did it. Many pilots told me that Matthias had this exact same experience for them, and when I did my first playthrough of AC2 when I was younger, I saw why so many people were scared of him. Our arena menaces, Matthias, Nameless, and Exile, keep strong with the symbolism of being number 9, and take the number 9 spot today. For players of Generation 4 who loved going through the GA missions, they would have access to a multitude of Lynx pilots. Takafumi Arisawa, Dan Morrow, and by far the favorite of these ones, May Greenfield. I have to say, I'm not really sure why May is so popular. I always thought that maybe it was because she was a female pilot who actually speaks in a somewhat pleasant tone, but there are plenty of pilots in 3rd gen that speak with us that are female. It was kind of hard to place her on the list as well. She could be number 8 or number 1 depending on who you talk to. She's very popular. May pilots a heavy GA America and Sunshine base next with lots of supporting power, and is painted a vibrant green. She never shows up as an antagonist to us in 4 Answer, which contributes to her reputation. Or maybe it's the fact that her emblem in a game full of absolute masterpieces of art is just a big smiley face. Perhaps the most artistic of them all. A complete deconstruction of art as a whole, and a challenge to the watcher that art is truly meant to be judged by the eye of the beholder, and that we, as Ravens, also partake in an artistic dance, our emblems streaking across our hulls, only to be blotted out by the wear of the battlefield. The smiley face, unable to express how it truly feels, even when marred by the scores and craters from ammunition. Its unwavering smile, looking out on the horrors of the conflict it's an unwilling participant in, but yet it must smile. Its mouth twisted into a painful hyperbole of happiness, for there is no joy to be found on the wretched conflict that ACs must endure. Only pain and profit. Perhaps the smiley is a rebellion, a silent yet unrelenting monolith, the only sort of dissent that a single pilot, tethered to a corporate master, can muster in the face of total adversity. Even if May were to fall in battle, Marygate's paint would ensure that the sands of the scarred planet, the metal, etched with the caustic chemicals that adhere to the metals of her next, would endure far longer and last for centuries before the sands of time would erase even that too. And the legacy of Marygate, May Greenfield, would live on in the minds of her enemies long after her passing, the smiley face, a mocking image of which they could not truly defeat. That, or she's just a nice pilot with a cute emblem, and people love her for it. I'm pretty sure it's that one. Number 7. Appleboy kind of has the same reputation of the previous pilot, May Greenfield, in the fact that he's just another nice guy that happens to keep showing up. Don't worry, I'm not going to spiral into another postmodernist rant talking about Appleboy's emblem or design. I think that was a one-time thing. Appleboy, for those who don't remember, is our compatriot that joins us on our Raven test at the beginning of Armored Core 3. Our fellow bright-eyed, eager go-getter, who will do his best to become a mercenary in Global Cortex. Appleboy doesn't actually show up in the arena for about half the game, but he eventually returns to be a consort select in many missions throughout Armored Core 3. Appleboy is also one of the few pilots that actually changes his build throughout the duration of the game he's in. It's not too much, just shifting between the starter AC and some upgrades. I do like how all of his upgrades are all in the same spots as the original parts. Missile launcher where the missile launcher was, radar where radar, rifle where rifle, etc. It's cool to see a Raven evolve with what he's just started with, which is a big departure from the MT pilots, who apparently can just get a pimped out AC in the same type as their MT combat style. Appleboy is also really popular in the same vein that May was in the previous entry. He's just nice to the player, or at least cordial all the way through. Outside of killing him as a consort, or offing him in the Raven test, he never actually betrays you, and that holds a lot of weight for Ravens. It probably also helped that AC3 was a lot of players' first introduction to the series. Starting off your first ever Raven test alongside another fellow Raven sticks with you, and his endearing voice lines hold a lot of staying power with older fans of the franchise. Appleboy is just a good guy to have on your side of the court, and is always a reliable ally. I love taking him along in my missions. I know many fellow Ravens feel the same way. So for that, he takes the number 7 spot today. Our number 6 entry today is the polar opposite of the previous few entries in the fact that instead of being a nice guy, he's just an absolute spineless coward. Patch the Good Luck, piloting his next No Count, is an absolutely cowardly sniper working with some irregulars. Voiced by Patrick Seitz, the same VA as the ever-popular handler Walter, Patch pilots a lightweight reverse joint mech with a heavyweight protective core. His preferred fighting style is to overwhelm you with ECM and keep you off balance with long-range weaponry like sniper and laser rifles. He's not a particularly hard-hitting next, as his AS missiles and snipers aren't really making contact that often, but his ECM can be annoying in the fight at Kitasaki Junction if you aren't too careful. Like every iteration after him, Patch is indeed a coward and will bend the knee at the first opportunity in a normal difficulty playthrough. You can choose to spare him and let him leave, or remove him off the face of the planet. It's actually amazing how pathetic they managed to make him sound after you take out Bappa Zugon before him.
Wait, I give up! Hey, I'm just following orders here. If he's pulled out, why should I? You guys, you're still alive, right? This is No Count, come in! We're allies, right? Right?
So what's the plan?
I think a lot of people just like Patch, since the cowardly archetype of pilot is just underused in the AC franchise. The other most cowardly pilot who comes to mind is RD from Armored Core 5, but I digress. The fact that you can just let him go after he begs for his life is not something that always pops up, and it's always nice to hear pilots like Swinburne also grovel at your feet once they know they've been bested. As previously stated, Patch continues on his AC legacy in other FromSoft games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and his cowardly backstabby personality persists all the way through the FromSoft cinematic multiverse. So of course, people love him. I would have personally loved to have seen him in a few other Armored Core games, but maybe just the fact he's a 4th gen gem is a boon in his own right. Hey Raven, before we get into the top half of our list, I wanted to ask if you could maybe leave a sub on the channel if you're enjoying the content. I make lots of Armored Core stuff and try to let my subs or members have a say in what top 10s or content I make. As much as I like making this for me, I also like making it for you guys. But of course, only sub to the channel if you are enjoying the content. Thank you, and back to the list. So when I was making this list, I know that one thing I was going to have to include was a wall arena opponent from the series. And by that, I mean one of the pilots who emails you personally to let you know they're going to beat your ass when you inevitably get to them. And for our number 5 pick, I can't think of anyone to occupy that spot better than Armored Core 2's Werehound. This guy does a great job of intimidating new pilots who begin to climb up the arena rankings by sending you an email letting you know that he's going to give you a reality check. His AC design is similar to Roughneck, being a weapon arm wielding stat check for players that really start to put people through their paces in the arena. But unlike Roughneck, Werehound is fought in the first few fights instead of the middle part of the arena. Pilots who read his description will only find scary things written about him. Things including punishing the weak and breaking in newcomers. Because of this, a level of respect is given to Werehound from the player base. People just love that the game had the balls to tell you, this guy is here to be a wall, and now we expect you to actually fight him. Funnily enough, the fight isn't that bad, since Werehound has absolutely horrible ammunition supply issues, but it will chew through most beginner player ACs who aren't familiar with mechanics, especially if 2 is the first of the AC games they played. There are plenty of these bully-type ACs in the series, including Fixer and Gimlet in Generation 3, but there is just something special about Werehound that stuck with people. Maybe it was the fact his emblem is so eye-catching, maybe it was the first challenging arena fight they ever fought, or maybe it was just as simple as a little smack talk between Ravens being the thing that made him stick out in people's minds. Ravens live for that confrontation, and Werehound really was great at pulling out the competitive side of Ravens, and for that, he cracks the top 5 of our list. For number 4 today is actually my personal favorite of the fan favorite ACs, and that is mostly because of just the pure emotional scarring she wrought on my feeble child mind when I fought her for the first time in Attack Urban Center in Armored Core 1. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm of course talking about Valkyrie, the rank 2 AC from Armored Core 1. Piloted by Los Vezi, which is a mistranslation of Rosweiss, which means white rose in German, Valkyrie scarred many a pilot as she absolutely obliterated them in a storm of totally not BS levels of slug gun fire. On top of that, being the first of the ranker ACs that many players fought, Valkyrie cemented the fact that rankers are a cut above the rest in the series, and that they should be respected as such. Valk doesn't just show up in the first game though. She also shows up again later in Armored Core 3, in sort of a spiritual successor to her first gen counterpart. Still rocking an iconic sniper rifle and a lightweight biped, Valkyrie forgoes her overtuned slug gun for some back-mounted rockets instead, taking to the skies and abusing her Crow stealth extensions to the agony of many an opponent. Valkyrie in AC3 maintains her position as a formidable foe. Los Vezi is also one of the few pilots in the series that we have access to official art of her, thus confirming she is actually female. I personally always loved the jumpsuit look that she had, the short jacket, and of course, the long flowing anime-esque hair aesthetic that was ever present in the mid-90s. Valk, of course, gets the premier treatment of getting her missions remade on Disc 2 of Armored Core Nexus, where we get to fight her and her Gen 3 remake. It's a fun fight, and her rapid-fire slug gun is still overtuned and also has insane pushback. I love that they keep those details in as a nod to people who were absolutely slayed by her Gen 1 counterpart. Her sniper makes a much more focused appearance in these missions as well. Her aptitude at shooting aerial targets made very apparent, and her sniper rifle will absolutely chip away at you if you aren't careful in her reverse side mission. Los Vezi is awesome, and I might be pretty biased. In fact, I am pretty biased putting her up this high, but if Marygate fans are upset, just swap her with Loss, and we can call it good. So, for the first of my podium picks, I think for pilots that live on in infamy in the franchise, I'd have to pick someone who unilaterally crushed a good portion of the Armored Core populace. And while the previous entry, Los Vezi, would have been a good pick, I feel as though someone else better fit the role. For our third place entry today, I'm gonna have to take a bit of a hot take and put Bolt here, from Armored Core Last Raven. Bolt is exceptionally popular, but not for his personality. It's actually the fact that almost everyone who played Last Raven on their first playthrough has taken the bait of the high pay mission, and then boom, you are totally obliterated by Bolt's Human Plus dual back slot laser cannon. It's almost a rite of passage for people who actually play Last Raven, especially if they have a friend in the room. Yeah man, this one pays really well, you should pick that one. Then you sit there, staring at your friend, playing the game, waiting for that, what took you so long? And inevitable screaming as they try to avoid the Human Plus AC on their very first mission. It's great. And really, that is the crux of what makes Bolt such a fan favorite. Fighting him for the first time completely blind is, like I said, a rite of passage for Armored Core players. Eating a shot from Thunderstrike and losing your head, literally, and maybe your legs as you get used to the mechanics for the first time, is something we have all experienced. And the best part is that Bolt is still a somewhat challenging fight, even for vets who are doing fresh playthroughs. There's just something about getting our asses kicked as Ravens that makes us love some of these characters, isn't there? I think the funniest thing about Bolt is that Ed Vice's write-up straight up calls him not intelligent. Why do they gotta do that to my boy? He's just a caveman with the biggest stick. He's of course also in Nexus as an arena fight and can show up later on in Last Raven if you don't off him in the first mission, meaning you pretty much always get to have a showdown with him at some point, albeit a bit more prepared than the first one. I'm sure people will be unhappy I put him so high, but I really do put a lot of stock in how people are mortified of this man. And there is something to be said how everyone got at the very least surprised on their last Raven playthroughs. That means something, I think. Alright, I don't think there's a single pilot or AC on this list who rose through the ranks of fan favorite faster than this guy. And for nothing more than the fact that he's just a total Giga Chad and is absolutely ripped out of his gourd the whole time you fight him. Invincible Rummy is one of those characters you just need to encounter to fully understand. He shows up, gets absolutely freaking mauled, drops an incredible line, and we just move on with our lives. But that's what makes him so great. Rummy and his AC Mad Stomp are complete pushovers. The opposite to Bolt in the previous entry, but people just love him. And frankly, I do too. His totally cocksure attitude, Air just slagging on him the whole time, and Carla's dismissal of his defeat are all just mwah, chef's kiss. I do love the banter that he throws our way as he tries to grind away with his chainsaw on his elegant machine, Mad Stomp. The fight with Rummy isn't a very long one, but he does have some funny lines as you're beating the absolute hell out of him, almost like he's surprised that someone could take him down. And he is surprised. He's so messed up on his drug usage that he really does believe he is truly invincible, which makes the character even more loved. But I feel like I'm missing some sort of detail, something that really pushes him over the edge. Oh yeah, his defeat line.
No! Mad Stomp!
This Mad Stomp line has been parodied so much and referenced so many times in the community, it's a shibboleth for people who love the 6th gen game. I think characters like Rummy are great for the series. Too much of these hardened badasses can really make you forget that sometimes a comedy character is direly needed in all the dark settings of Armored Core. And I think that's why people really love him. And hey, Carla trusts him enough to deal with the coyotes of Grid 086. I'm sure that he totally didn't develop part of his demigod complex by messing up coyotes all day. Invincible Rummy and Mad Stomp underestimate the tourist and get our silver medal today. For number 1, I think is arguably the most tragic of all the stories of pilots in Armored Core, and that belongs to who is in my mind the fan favorite AC of the franchise, Wildcat. Wildcat had his humble beginnings as the very first AC you fight in the series as the Red AC in the mission Guard Freight Train, and his story is just sad. Taken by one of the most evil corporations in the series and progenitors of the Human Plus technology, Murakumo Millennium, Wildcat was experimented on and subjected to horrifying amounts of surgery and augmentation to amplify his performance as an AC pilot. This experimentation left him addled and filled with rage, enough so that his fellow Human Plus experimentees were decrying that they may experience his fate. Wildcat isn't a complete lost cause though. Somehow, through his agony, he still retains an amount of free will to crush the bastards at Murakumo by destroying the freight train Boulder.
Raven, I need your help. Something was done to me. I'm no longer human. Murakumo's train, it must be stopped. I don't want any more surgery. Never again. Please, help me. I want to be released from all this.
An absolutely heartbreaking mission rundown. Nothing makes me want to burn Murakumo down to the goddamn ground more than hearing the pain in Wildcat's voice in his briefing. This, of course, is not the whole reason why people do love Wildcat. Beyond the sense of justice people feel trying to avenge the tortured soul, Ravens adore Wildcat for the fact he was the first AC fight of the franchise, cutscene and all. Him charging the location that Boulder is in and putting Ravens on their first hot seat mission against an enemy AC. Without all the context from Nexus, Wildcat was an enigma for Generation 1 players. Pieces of the Human Plus puzzle drip-fed to us through a few emails. I'm glad that FromSoft expanded his story and gave him the attention that he deserved in Nexus, though. It really is a great exploration of how awful Human Plus really is. We, of course, get more details about the horrors of Human Plus later throughout the game, but the first domino falls with the resurgence of the Red AC showing up at Heaven's Rock. On top of all of this, he also shows up in one of the first 2 arena battles in the generation, if you don't get him during the freight train mission. So that's another notch in his belt. On almost every video I watch or post I make, every Reddit thread or forum thread I see about old gen, Wildcat comes up. I don't think I can say that about any other AC on this list. And for that reason, I'm going to give Wildcat our gold medal today as our mildly more obscure fan favorite Raven. So that's my top 10 more obscure fan favorite ACs in the franchise. It was an absolute doozy trying to pick just 10, well, 11 for this list. It's impossible to cover every single game and pick pilots that are always the fan favorite because we all attach to little characters in the games, and they mean a lot to each of us. Please tell me which ones are your favorites in the comments below. If you want to see a list of the real heavy hitters with all the biggest names in the franchise for iconic ACs, check out this video. And if you want to see me go a bit crazy, ranking every Armored Core 1 mission in order, check this one out. Thanks everyone for stopping by, and as always, Ravens, I'll see you in the next one.